Welcome everyone to the June 1st, 2026 Wallet Interoperability SIG meeting. Our agenda today, interoperability and conformance testing for the eIDAS 2.0 era and beyond, a community-driven approach. We have three awesome speakers. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a second. But real quickly, our normal, as with all Linux Foundation meetings, this is held under the Linux Foundation antitrust policy. If you have any questions about these matters, please contact your company counsel, or if you're a member of the Linux Foundation, feel free to contact Andrew Updegrove of the firm Gesper Updegrove LLP. This would also be a competition policy in the EU. I'm going to fix this slide after this call ends. Our code of conduct is also in effect, which can best be summed up as be excellent to each other, and we're going to get a ton of work done. This meeting is being recorded and will be shared on the Open Wallet Foundation YouTube. I'm going to burn through these announcements really quick so we can get right to our speakers. The Architecture SIG is happening in 56 minutes. The link is going to be here. I will put this into chat right now. There we go. Along with the link for the wiki page for this meeting. From a community calendar perspective, tomorrow, June 2nd, we have the Bifold community call, we have the Occupy maintainers call, and we have the Multipass community meeting. Thursday, June 4th, we have the Credo community call. I'll put all these links in the chat in a second. The Credo community call. On Tuesday, June 9th, next week, we have Occupug, which is the Occupy user group meeting. We have the Multipass community meeting. Next Wednesday, June 10th, we have VCX community call. They really only meet once a month. If you get the chance, definitely want to attend that call. And the Open Wallet Foundation Technical Advisory Council. And lastly, from an announcement perspective, on Thursday, June 11th, the UDPLO community call. UDPLO is a brand new growth project. They were a lab. They graduated to growth. Mirko's been doing some great work there, and we hope you all check out that call. There's some really, really good stuff coming out of that part of the community. Last up, Global Digital Collaboration is happening September 1, 2, and 3 in Geneva, Switzerland. The links I'm going to put into chat in a second include the link to register. Registration is free. Tickets are limited. They're quickly running out. Also, if you want to propose a session at the GDC, there is an Airtable form you can fill out, and the agenda is still being worked on. We are trying to lock down the agenda for July of 20 by this July. So we've got about 4 weeks left. And with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to turn this over to our three awesome speakers, Lal, Nikolaos, and my goodness, Petros. If you could introduce yourselves each and then get right into it. Petros, you're muted.
So I'm not muted.
Now you're.
Hello everyone. I can see a lot of activity in Open Wallet Foundation. It's a notorious place to discuss technology issues and collaborate. And we are happy really to present in this audience. One of the major achievements of our activity referring to the performance testing and interoperability for the emerging EUDI, European Union Identity wallet ecosystem. It's a whole ecosystem, as we explain later. And the objectives today is to discuss in brief the main constituents of this ecosystem and how we ensure interoperability and performance testing through the development of a community-driven approach, through a community. Nikos, please move to next slide. Through a community interoperability test bed platform, which is open source and it is free, no fees. It is an effort to help to support the needs of the industry towards the performance with the EUDI wallet standards. My colleagues, Nikos and Lal, will present in a detail the following slides. Actually, University of the Aegean is dispersed in the islands of the Aegean archipelago in Greece. I am right now in one of these islands. It's a vacation, the holiday day here. So perhaps I have limited connectivity because I'm outside of the university premises. So for that reason, Nikos and Lal will be in charge of the presentation. I will intervene when it is necessary. I want to start by explaining that this is a platform, a whole environment which provides conformance testing. That means testing against the normative requirements of a standard. Of course, we work with the European standards for the wallet, but we can work, and we started work also with other standards. So it's more generic tool. In all these cases, the authority comes from the specification itself, and the role of the platform is to provide a conclusion. So your implementation at the test either passes or fails, or it is inconclusive, and at the end, the tester receives a conformance certificate. Which means correct implementation of the standards. And of course, this standards conformity, we can ensure interoperability. Eventually, some other plug tests, they are necessary, but we have here the essential, the foundation for achieving interoperability. And as we explain later, the platform is able to test against protocols, against profiles, against domain applications. So there is a whole range of services we are going to provide. And so I give the floor to Nikos and Lal to run the presentation. Starting eventually from the history, it's important to understand that it's a very open source environment here. And very recently, we gave the rights of the development of this environment to the NXT Foundation, a Swedish non-profit organization, and we are also open to collaboration with other institutions, and perhaps today's discussion will open eventually the discussion with collaboration with Open Wallet Foundation. So Nikos, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Petros. Let me say hi from my side as well. I'm Nikos Triantafylou, researcher at the University of the Aegean, working together very closely with Petros and Lal on these specific issues of interoperability in the eUDI wallet ecosystem and large-scale pilots, but even beyond that. So any wallet-enabled, essentially, ecosystem can be supported by this approach. And this approach that we have been working on is built on specific principles. First of all, there are some community principles, right? Everything that we build and provide to the ecosystem is open source. There are no fees essentially involved in participating in the platforms, and it has been extensively used in various settings, most prominently in the large-scale pilots of the European Digital Identity Wallet. So specifically EWC, WeBuild, and Aptitude. So in the previous phase of the large-scale pilots that concluded successfully, and in the newer ongoing large-scale pilots, but even beyond. So other wallet-enabled...
Large-scale pilots, to provide some information here, are European initiatives, big projects, large projects, funded by the European Commission, which promotes the use of the eUDI wallet in the public domain, the private domain, of course, in collaboration with the emerging wallet ecosystem companies. And Lal, who is with us, is the technical director and co-founder of Grant.io. Grant.io is one of the most valuable wallet providers right now in Europe, with a strong participation in many European projects, and of course with a lot of activity beyond this project. Lal, please, you present yourself and we continue the discussion.
Absolutely. A very short presentation my side. My name is Lal Chandran. I'm the CTO and co-founder of iGrand.io, based out of Stockholm, Sweden. We have been very much part of multiple large-scale pilots and also working very closely with Petros and Nikos. And one of the realization we had, and of course I'm probably preaching to the choir here, that European Digital Identity Wallet is all about the ecosystem. So one aspect that we realized early on is to make sure that whatever we are developing and whatever anyone else is developing is interoperable, not just the standards, but also some of the legal requirements that are coming from the Commission. So what we have done is essentially, based on all the experiences from the EWC, WeBuild, Aptitude, etc., we have formulated a common environment, which we call as ITB Plus, that Nikos has been talking about, and providing that environment free of cost for anybody to run it, integrate it in their own DevOps environment, etc. And this is like what we have done so far is very much protocol driven and also HC spec driven. There are also additional things coming up which are also ARF driven, which Nikos also will walk you through. So yeah, so our role is essentially like one of the vendors who are actively supporting the work that Petros and Nikos started off, and also pulling in a similar kind of entities around who would make this completely interoperable going forward. Back to you, Nikos.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jan. Yeah, so indeed, the situation is exactly as Lal was explaining. So this approach, apart from the community principles, also has some service principles, right? That everything we build is based on standards and it's specification driven, be that either protocols per se or additional profiles such as the HC profiles built on top or the hype profile and so on, or even more domain specific profiles such as the FIDES community profile, right? Also, everything is neutral and vendor agnostic. We are not pushing for a specific wallet stack here. The goal is to remain open in order to build and ensure interoperability across the ecosystem. The service needs and the execution of all testing, which we will explain further down in more details, needs to be repeatable and transparent, right? And be version aware and extensible because, as you are all very much aware of, the ecosystems are very much live and they are advancing as time progresses and the specifications mature, change, need to be updated in order to support additional use cases and so on. Finally, the service needs to be always available so that it can be integrated, as Lal was explaining, in the CI/CD flows of the participants of the ecosystems, and the results need to be evidence-based rather than claim-based, right? So we want to be able to provide a test that helps the implementers ensure interoperability. And in order to help them, a simple fail or pass is not enough. So we provide evidence as to why a test execution has succeeded or not. With respect, yeah, we have kind of already explained this slide, but I2B Plus essentially has been designed to be reusable across various domains and projects, right? So the platform in a sense remains the same, but the underlying profile specifications and suites evolve as time evolves. And this has enabled us to apply this I2B Plus, let's say, approach or this I2B Plus solution in different ecosystems, both EUDI wallet specific, eIDAS 2.0 specific, and beyond, such as the FIDES community and so on. So let's look a little bit into what a wallet-enabled ecosystem really looks like, right? So we can think of a wallet-enabled ecosystem domain, maybe even better, as having several layers. The bottom layer is, of course, the trust layer, right? This adds the identities in the entities that interact with the wallet. So who is this relying party? Who is the issuer? Is this relying party, let's say, authorized to request this type of attestation and so on? Who has provided this wallet unit, etc. And on top of the trust layer, the foundation, we have the actual wallet layer, right? And there we can already see that there are various flavors of wallet. We have personal wallets, business wallets. This is a very emerging and dynamic regulation being pushed by the European Commission. And we also have the typical roles in a wallet-based domain, so the issuers and the verifiers, the relying party. But this is not the end, let's say, of the cake. So the layer on top is where the most value can be derived from. So this is the profile layer. We have domain-specific extensions on top of the other layers that have to do with the implementation and support for specific use case pilots, etc. So you can think about banking. Banking has specific requirements and payments. Additionally, travel, healthcare, telecom, etc. All these add an additional complexity and interoperability layer on top of the two lower layers. And of course, we have the schemas and repositories of the credentials that are needed, right? So in order to ensure interoperability, we need to be able to combine protocols, roles, trust schema, domain extensions, and business even workflows, right? All of these need to be able to be testable together in order to ensure interoperability, because this is the key, let's say, bet for a wallet ecosystem to succeed. Interoperability. Otherwise, even the most elegant technical solution will fail to have adoption if you cannot use wallet X with relying party Y, right? So, okay, we said that there is a lot of complexity in a wallet-based ecosystem, but why isn't bilateral testing not enough, right? In our experience, this essentially just doesn't scale. So, doing bilateral testing, you can show that two implementations basically work together under the specific time that they were tested, under specific also assumptions, but this does not by any means create a shared interpretation of the profile, and it's not a reusable test evidence. It doesn't essentially mean that after you do the test, one party doesn't change something, add an additional feature on the implementation that causes basically these tests to fail in the future, this interoperability between the two parties to fail in the future. So we need repeatable checks across the participants. And we need to be able to ensure the visibility of the choices and the hidden assumptions basically that take place there in order to be able to scale. So we have been trying to build this ITB plus approach to turn specific profile decisions into executable checks, which are repeatable and produce evidence and reports for every implementer of the ecosystem, and they can be run consistently. So in our experience, three types of tests basically are required, and they are complementary to each other and not mutually exclusive, but neither one of them is enough by itself in order to ensure interoperability. On the first hand, we have, of course, the protocol conformance test. So does this implementation basically follow the core protocols such as of a wallet ecosystem, such as OpenID Connect for VCI, right? Then we have the reference implementation test. So does the system that is being tested, is it able to interoperate with a deterministic counterpart, right? That represents the expected, implements basically in an open source way the expected profile and behavior. So here we test wallets versus issuers versus verifiers, and verifiers versus wallets that are the reference implementation. We're talking about end-to-end tests here, not only specific parts of the protocols, but complete flows from issuance to verification and so on. And on top of that, we need domain-specific tests. So we need to be able to see if a system under test satisfies the additional constraints that are part of a particular use case and domain. So take, for example, a specification for payments that is being built in the eIDAS wallet ecosystem. This is called technical specification 12, right? So this is a specification, a profile on top of the OpenID Connect for a verifiable presentation specification, right? All the key components are there, but being conformal to the VP test suite or the VP specification does not ensure that you implement all the profile choices of technical specification 12, of transaction binding, of attestations, etc., that are required in order to participate in this domain-specific use case. So we believe that all three of these types of tests are needed because interoperability essentially can break in all of these little steps, right? So we can break interoperability, of course, during the protocol phase. We might have divergent implementations of the protocol, of the core protocol between parties. Also, we need to be able to have a standard, let's say, way of testing against the reference implementation, because even if we do implement the same protocol, there might be some interpretations that different parties have understood slightly different, right? Which might all be allowable under the protocol, but break interoperability essentially. And of course, the domain specific use cases that I was explaining before. So uh, one protocol basically may allow for many valid options, right? But an application, a domain needs one agreed testable configuration that all parties are able to test against, that supports all of the domain's use cases. So this is what we have been trying to build with ITB Plus, and let's see it in practice. What ITB Plus looks like, right? So we have the core component of ITB, which essentially includes the test engine that is able to execute the various tests integrated and implemented in ITB Plus and generate the reports. And we have the harness that is able to connect ITB Plus with the system being tested. So while this is a very high level view, you can already see that integration into ITB Plus is very customizable and extensible in this approach. So this allows us to be able to support with the same solution different ecosystems, different domains, different communities, either as part of large-scale pilots or beyond. So ITB Plus is able to support all of the three testing approaches that I was explaining before. We have all the protocol tests that you would expect from the core, let's say, core protocol conformance testing, right? So metadata checks, syntax security, assertions, etc., etc. But on top of that, we have domain-specific reference implementation implemented inside the ITB. So issuers, verifiers, and wallets that can be used as deterministic, basically, counterparts for end-to-end testing flows. And use case specific test suites built on top of the core functionality of the testing profile. So we have domain specific test cases supported completely. So for example, payment test cases, signing signature test cases using the wallet, etc. Finally, in order to be able to support all this, ITB Plus offers a community basically management, participation management layer that enables the generation of reports informing of the communities of the readiness status and checks of the participants, etc. So essentially with the same platform, we have different types of tests all supported inside, and additionally participant management in a deterministic and open way for everyone. So what does ITB Plus offer? Well, we mentioned the three first layers of testing, right? So protocol conformance, reference implementation testing, and domain-specific applications. But also ITB and Plus enables us to have specific integration harnesses, APIs open, so that we can integrate various systems under test, either issuer, wallet, or verifier, report and evidence generation, so logs for debugging purposes, for conformance reports, etc., etc., and participant management. So it's not only a test runner, right? So the ITB Plus is, in a sense, a shared operational layer between specifications, implementations, and evidence generation and reporting. Now, let's see how you would apply the ITB Plus approach in a specific domain. So we start with a domain that has specific needs, right? It needs to be able to support specific use cases and business rules. the first thing we need to do, of course, is to do a profile analysis and map these use cases into specific protocol choices, credentials, formats, schemas of the credentials, even trust frameworks, and so on. Then we need to be able to generate, on top of that, a testable profile, and this needs to be distilled into test cases and implemented as a test suite inside the ITB. Then the participants of the domain can access ITB and execute the test suites and generate the results. And the cherry on top is that, as we were saying also in the title of the presentation, right, ITB Plus is a community approach. So everything is open source, all the test suites, all the reference implementations, everything is available, and it enables the community. This is one of the key findings from the large-scale pilots, that it enables the community to be able to participate in the building and the evaluation of the test suites and in its improvement. So maybe some participants understand the implementation of the protocols and the specifications a little bit different than other participants. ITB Plus offers an open, let's say, forum for discussion and improvement and the refinement of the test suite. So issues can be easily raised, discussed, and improvement of the test profile and test suites is the result of this. And in our experience, in the work that we have applied the ITB Plus so far, this has really driven the robustness of the testing solution and the implementation, and has very successfully so far ensured that the ecosystems that have used ITB Plus have achieved a very high level of interoperability without requiring bilateral testing and expending a lot of effort and resources in that. Having a reusable 24/7 evidence-based system to be able to test against has really improved the capability of these ecosystems domains to interoperate without any issues. So if we go a little bit deeper into the ITB Plus architecture, we can see that there is this user interface component. This is how basically the systems interact with ITB, right? And the reporting is being generated, the tests are being executed. But on top of that, we have the reference implementation layer, which contains components for all of the usual, let's say, flavors of parties. So we have issuers, holders, and verifiers. Holders meaning wallet units, of course, right? And one key benefit of the approach is that any solution can be integrated into the ITB, and we'll go a little bit into that later. But this essentially means that ITB Plus can be used also as a marketplace where you can find, apart from the reference implementation, you can find test suites from the different participants of the ecosystem in a centralized way without having to search for them, and enable inside the ITB Plus also bilateral testing. And on top of that, in of course, again, a deterministic manner and a reusable manner, right? And on top of that, we have, of course, the actual test suites, the test cases being implemented and enforced in ITB. And on the left, you can see all the input that is being used in order to build the test cases, etc. So this approach has enabled us, this kind of building block approach has enabled the ITB Plus to operate under a tenant-specific configuration mode, allowing the same infrastructure to be reusable with different, of course, configurations in the various domains that it has been applied so far with success. Yeah, of course, it is important here to clarify what a report from ITB proves and what it does not prove, right? So A report in ITB proves that the system under test has passed a specific test suite, satisfied all the checks that were part of that profile and version, producing the expected behavior, right? And that it is accompanied by the evidence that all of these tests were executed successfully. But it's not a full legal or regulatory compliance report. It does not contain every possible that the underlying standards might allow for. As I was explaining before, ITB Plus targets very specific profiles that the domain defines, right? It does not ensure that the system being tested will interoperate with every other possible implementation, of course, assuming that this implementation has not also been tested inside the same test suite of the ATB, right? It does not, of course, ensure business processes end-to-end. It's not an end-to-end certification for business processes and trust liability, etc. Liability, basically, and so on, is outside the scope of ITB Plus. A conformance report summarizing is evidence against a specific test suite, which is defined under a specific profile, role, and version. It's not a blanket specification for the whole ecosystem. Now, let's see a little bit how a participant interacts with ITB. So this depends on the role, of course, of the participant. So a wallet provider would register their organization and their wallet solution under ITB Plus, and after accessing the service and logging in, there they will find the respective test suite that they want to test against the specific profile, and they can start executing the test suites. The same for an issuer and verifier provider. So they can register their system and log into ITB Plus and interact with the harness that is already there in order to implement issuance or verification flows against the reference implementation wallet that is supporting the test cases of ITB Plus. But as I was saying previously, ITB Plus also enables a wallet ecosystem marketplace kind of solution. So issuer verifiers and wallet providers can expose specific APIs that are required by the ITB Plus harness in order to integrate their solutions inside ITB Plus and offer specific test suites that are executed against their implementation, not the reference implementation of the domain, right? So then any other participant of the same ecosystem can come and test at any time their solution against the solution of this party without requiring specific events taking place where people, meet and test the solution against one another and so on. And of course, we have the layer of, the domain participants. So we have the generation of the reports and the publication of this and so on and so on, domain management, etc. Of course, ITB Plus is not the only wallet testing solution that exists, right? We have to explain a little bit its relationship with Open ID Connect Foundation conformance test tools. So, at a very, let's say, high level, someone might be a little bit confused about what one and the other offers and if there is an overlap. But the truth is that the two solutions aim to solve different problems. So the OpenID Foundation conformance tools aim to basically provide the testing infrastructure for the OpenID Connect specifications and profiles. They are not there to support different use cases and domains that go beyond the OpenID Connect Foundation. This is not the core focus, right? While ITB Plus is designed basically explicitly to be able to support domain-specific solutions and testing. And it has so far been predominantly used in order to validate and ensure interoperability in eIDAS 2.0 ecosystems that add a layer on top of the OpenID Foundation specification. So the OpenID Foundation conformance tools are essential for protocol level confidence. And I have to admit that they have done an excellent job, especially in the latest iterations. The tool is very mature and it can really help with respect to protocol conformance. But ITB Plus aims to complement that by allowing testing towards the ecosystem's profiles, which most of the cases are built on top of the OpenID Foundation profiles. So, summarizing a little bit what we have discussed so far, ITB aims to provide a control path that starts by defining the exact profiles for supporting a domain and then turning these into executable test suites. So these profiles are typically described as RFCs or conformance specifications, etc. Right, and then these are translated into executable test suites that make these profile decisions testable. And in order to reduce ambiguity, we have a reference implementation inside ITB Plus in order to be able to test against these profiles. And of course, we have the generation of the reporting in order to ensure transparency, etc. Finally, specific participant of the ecosystem solutions can also be integrated inside IETB and exposed as test cases in order to further promote testing between the participants and interoperability and participant management workflows, prepare the members basically for generating the reports and ensuring interoperability. So in our view, interoperability cannot be based on one-off bilateral events. Interoperability seems to be a governed, repeatable process which needs to be evidence-based. So what's next for the developments in IDB Plus? Of course, we plan also to support proximity testing by providing implementations for ISO proximity flows, right? Integrate with advanced analytics tools in order to help the debugging process of the parties a little bit better. So in case, analyze the debug logs in order to assist the participants of the ecosystems, ensure that their solutions meet the expected profiles and behaviors, and in cases that these fail, provide very, let's say, explicit reasoning as to why and what they need to achieve, and more importantly, broaden the community. So we want to evolve ITB Plus into an independent open source community supported testing environment. And this is, we will be very soon announcing a call for memberships in the open in the ITB Plus community. And yeah, so essentially, let's discuss, if we have a few more minutes, how ITB Plus can really support the industry needs and ensure that the wallet, let's say, ensure that the wallet ecosystems being built are interoperable, because at the end of the day, this will be either the making of or breaking point of these ecosystems. If we fail at interoperability, unfortunately, all of the benefits of wallet-enabled ecosystems will not matter because we won't have user acceptance. I don't know, Lal, I kind of monopolized the things here. If you want to add something, yeah, please feel free to.
No, you covered very well. I think the summary is essentially that this is all about the ecosystem, and we need to have a continuous environment in place that can be adopted by any vendor, any solution provider.
Awesome. And I want to thank our three presenters. The rest of our time is for you and our community. If you've got a question, please raise your hand. We've got three incredibly knowledgeable presenters right here who are sharing their work. If you have a comment, whatever you want to do, please raise your hand. We got time, folks. All right, well, I'll go first. How can we help? What do you need? What can the Open Wallet Foundation community do to help? Whether it's kicking tires, is there a link to a test bed or something we can play with?
Yes, there are, as I explained, a lot of deployments for the different ecosystems of IETB. I think that it would be good if we could also open some testing accounts to the community and share it together with the presentation. That would be, yeah, that would be definitely the next step. And I think that with respect to, how the Open Wallet Foundation can help by engaging. So this is the intent. We plan to make this a membership, an ecosystem. So we don't want this to be closed. The whole point is to bring more people on board, make them interested, test these things out. All the people that have some, let's say, interest in the wallet ecosystems being built, to be able to come in, contribute, test their solutions, improve, etc. Lal,
Totally agree. I think one of the biggest advantages the community and the approach towards an open ecosystem development that way, the Open Wallet Foundation could be very vital in contributing.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Wallet interoperability's sake, hand raised. Harm Arnhorst, you're first.
So yes, hi guys. Just want to congrats on this first sharing of the activities. I really am passionate and enthusiastic about these type of interoperability as a service approach in the end-to-end ecosystem that's getting more complex every day. So what I think is a good thing to discuss and also have as a next step is similar to what we have been trying to do with the eIDAS project as a community to move into the Open Wallet Foundation as a new home. Similar approach can be done here, where we then can have more, I think, like the like we do today, sharing of what we do. And also a little bit of the governance structure, broader than just the community open approach that we are doing today. So I think this is a relevant initiative that deserves more structure and guidance and governance. So that's why I think let's explore further.
Yes, definitely. I think we all agree that this is indeed the way forward. Yeah, we need to bring this to the people and ensure, of course, the proper governance, etc., and find the right home, let's say, in a sense, for ITB. Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions for our awesome presenters? Romek, you're up.
Hello. Thank you for the talk. Just two comments. One is about stress testing. Are you doing any of that work at all? So basically doing multiple tests to check basically systems can handle under stress or fast-moving transactions. And the other is to deal with sort of transient cases of things like ticketing and stuff. So some of the data in the European wallet is very fixed, like your passport, and then you have train tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know how you dealt with that as well. Those are two things.
Mm-hmm. So I'll do a first take on on Romex's comment, and Lal, maybe you can add also a few things. So this is like kind of the strength of the 8B plus approach, that it is use case driven, right? So at the moment, for example, for stress testing, we have not had any use cases that required such testing, but this does not mean that it is not feasible, and it's not mean that it is not, it cannot be added to the roadmap if a community has such. For ticketing, for example, we've had use cases for ferry boarding passes, not trains so far, but we've had such use cases, right? So we have specific use cases for the issuance and presentations and the specific constraints that apply to that domain. So it's a domain use case specific approach. As these things come and they present themselves in the various domains, additional test suites are being built. It's not a static, fixed, let's say, test suite. This is kind of the difference with the strictly protocol, let's say, testing solutions, right? This is a domain testing solution, and its goal is to be able to evolve and support. Lal, please, yeah.
No, I hope I understood your question, Romek, properly. So your second question was about how well can we support multiple data schemas? Is that the
Yeah,
correct?
well, basically, working from the UK, as we are here, we have specifics for the UK. When I do the model of the European wallet, I do it from the UK slant because I'm based here. And I know the UK really well. If I couldn't do France, for example, I couldn't do Finland, but there's almost like there needs to be like a schema for each country, because there's 27 countries here. They're all doing it differently, and it's almost like trying to get it. Say, I'm in this country X. I need to do testing country Y.
On that note, I think this is one area where Open Wallet Foundation could be very handy in really creating a federated environment for all different kind of schema definitions around, which can easily be plugged in. Because by nature, we don't have any problem supporting any schemas as long as it exists somewhere. So that could be a very clear area where, if with a multiple version controlled schema definition directory or whatever you want to call it, that is available for anyone could be very handy, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Great point, Lal. Thank you for that. I'm going to make a note and put some notes for my team as well. Any other questions for Lal or Nikos or Petros? Please raise your hand. Or just speak up. There's only 19 of us, 18 of us here. Alrighty. Well, I want to thank our three speakers so much for this. I am going to post the recording in the Discord, as well as it's going to end up on our it is going to end up on the Open Wallet Foundation YouTube channel, Wallet Interoperability SIG playlist, which I just shared in chat. And I will grab, if possible, from our great speakers, a PDF of their deck so I can put it in the Wiki page. If folks want to check out the deck offline or look at it while they're watching the video, we can keep that moving. But really, thank you so much, all three of you, for joining us today. Before I end the call, I want to make sure no one's got their hand raised. Nah, it's all right. Listen, Lal, Nikos, and Petros, thank you so much. This was a great presentation. We really appreciate it. We're going to keep this conversation going.
Thank you very much for hosting us. The pleasure was ours. I think that, this seems to be the way forward for 8B plus.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Everybody gets 9 minutes back in their day. Have a good one, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.